These are the filming days that I live for. I did a video on this 2026 GMC CR 2500 AT4X AEV edition, and it does have some accessories added from AEV. So be sure to watch my last video that I did, because you can actually drop ship your truck here to get all these accessories done before you pick up your truck from the dealership. I am here at Jerry Seiner GMC in South Jordan, Utah. Be sure to ask for Frank. I wanted to do a quick comparison between these two trucks because you guys know this is my 2024, and I did add the AEV edition bumper after the fact. Now, if I decided I want to, I can add the brush guard, the light pods. I'm probably going to definitely do the winch either this year or next year, so stay tuned for that. I'll probably do an install video as well. But I wanted to show you guys my McGaughys lift. That's really the main reason why we're doing this video too. So you can pretty much tell my truck is definitely sitting just a little bit higher. And what's so cool about this is, on my truck I do have 38 by 13.5s. And can you guys see the difference? Most people probably know by now, if you're getting a 38, you're really getting a 37.76. These are 37 by 13.5s. So this is basically like a 36 point something. I can't tell you what it is for this BFGoodrich KO3, but you can definitely tell these are just a little bit taller. Now, this tire here, let's see, I believe it's a load range E. Yep, E. Has 3,970 pounds. You can run it at max 65 psi. Now, this BFGoodrich tire is a load range F, okay? And with the load range F, they're saying 80 psi, but it does have 3,970 pounds of capacity. So this is going to probably be a stiffer sidewall in comparison. So it's going to ride a little bit stiffer, and that's okay. I think sometimes in a lot of cases, this is good for towing for sure. So in the future, I'll have to do some towing tests with mine to see if it does affect it. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, with this McGaughys kit, it basically lifts the truck up front 2 inches. Now, if you're getting an AT4 or like a Denali pickup, it's going to give you actually 4 inches. So in essence, this is a 4-inch kit, but if you're getting an AT4X ZR2 truck, it's going to be a 2-inch kit, okay? So that's one reason why my truck sits a little bit higher, is the tires. 38 by 13.5 versus 37 by 13.5. And yeah, you can tell, pretty meaty tires for sure. Now, really quickly, in the comment section, should I get the brush guard for my truck? I definitely do like the styling of it. And as I mentioned in the last video, these light pods do have the accessory for these grills here. And I do like the styling of these too. But here's a quick peek at the suspension, so you guys can tell, right? From the factory, these GMC and Chevy trucks, AT4X ZR2, they do come with what they call a 2-inch lift kit, okay? Now, I've done some videos with McGaughys, and you guys know Nick Vasquez. They have pretty much proven that this is actually a 2-inch leveling kit based off of how they did it. So if you're actually lifting a truck, especially with a IFS suspension, this is pretty much what has to change. You have to change structurally the framing to call it a lift kit, right? Because that's what a lift kit is. And GM did not do that with these AT4X and ZR2 trucks. So you can pretty much tell the angles of the suspension right there. You can see like that tie rod angle is slanted down a little bit. Even that CV axle is kind of angled down a little bit, right? It's not bad. It's definitely within the specs that GM built the truck in. And remember, on these trucks, they do have different upper, lower control arms. Steer knuckles different, so they did do some changes to keep that suspension happy. Again, leveling kit. Out back, they were able to achieve a higher stance off of that 1.5 inch tall block right there. If I were to show you a truck right now that's a non-X, it would basically have no block there. So with the taller tires and the different suspension up front with that block, that's how this truck is able to achieve a taller ride height. So you guys just saw the angles on the front end. Let me show you why you should get that McGaughys kit. It's worth every penny. Here's the before. Look at that tie rod. If you don't know what a tie rod is, here, let me point it out for you. This is your tie rod, and that's your CV axle right there, okay? And here's my truck. Do you guys notice a difference with my angles? My CV axle is straighter than the factory. You guys see my tie rod? It's straighter than the factory. I'm gonna go ahead and turn out the wheel so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. I am a fan of these Nitto Ridge grapplers, but I gotta tell you, these KO3s, they hit really hard for sure. Now, as I was saying, GM did no structural changes to the frame of this truck, which is why you see the angles the way they are, okay? Now you guys also see all the rust. In my last video I did with my truck, you guys were like, "Man, like, why is there so much rust on your truck from the factory?" Well, you can see there's a lot of rust on this truck here. It has probably not even 50 miles on it, and it's because GM does not treat this metal. Now, when I was at McGaughys, this is what they recommend when you get their kit. They actually ask their installers to paint all of that bare metal. See, all that bare metal got painted on my truck, so it looks so much better than it did right out of the factory. And that's what I love about McGaughys. They take care of you all the way around. But yeah, look at the angles of my suspension up front, and that's because of that front and rear cross member. Now on this side, this is, again, as I said, this is a new upper arm that GM gave these AT4X and ZR2 trucks, and you can see it does kind of have a down angle where this ball joint is. You see how it kind of goes down a little bit, and that was to help with overall suspension geometry. They wanted to keep it in line as much as possible. So for those guys out there who say, "Man, I really want to get my truck leveled," this truck already has a leveling kit. If you want to level the truck, you would have an option to reach out to McGaughys. They have these shims that you can add out back. You can stack them, so you would basically be lowering the rear of the truck basically to level it, okay? And that's not a bad thing, right? If you want a level truck but you don't want to spend the money right now, you could just get the shims. That way you can drop it about 3/4 of an inch, okay? And then, I mean, it will still sit higher than a regular AT4, and then that way the back of the truck will be level with the front, and then there you go. But if you do try to level this truck by turning up the torsion keys right here, I did a video on it. Where are they at? Here's the torsion bar. So it's kind of hidden because of that skid plate there, but if you were to turn up the torsion keys on this truck, guys, you will have a terrible ride. And the angles that you saw on the front of the suspension would be even worse. So I highly recommend, before you turn up the torsion keys, do some research. You don't have to take my word for it. Nick Vasquez has done a lot of videos. He's a lot more articulate than I am. He's almost a suspension engineer at heart, and he can explain a lot better than I can. But I'm telling you guys, if you turn up your torsion keys, you will get that nice look, but at the sacrifice of your ride, and you're going to wear out all of your suspension components, including your CV axle as well. Now you guys might be wondering, how did the McGaughys kit fix the tie rod and CV axle angle? And that's a really good question, right? So as you guys know, we do have an upgraded knuckle here. So this is a steer knuckle, and because they've had time to really build this kit, they were able to design this knuckle in such a way where they were able to get that tie rod angle nice and straight. Also, this does have a diff drop too, so they did drop down the diff to get those angles in line. So they took a long time to release this to the public, and I'm glad they did, because they have the best kit. One of my favorite things about their lift is you do not get any track width gain. In other words, you guys see right here, these bolts are nice and straight. So this is straight down from the factory position, which means you're not going to get the front wheels out wider. There's a lot of kits on the market that will actually increase that track width out front, which means you would probably have to run a spacer in the rear, that way your tires match. So if you're buying the right offset, these are plus 19 offset wheels, right? If you're getting the right wheels, that means you have to still run a spacer in the back for some of the lift kits out there. So McGaughys is the only one I know of that does not give you increased track width with these trucks. And I highly recommend you check out their sales team if you have any questions about that. Now, I did go with the new upper A-arm, and the main reason why is to increase the downward travel, and they also repositioned the ball joint for this too, because as you guys know, you have a new steer knuckle, so now they're able to really get the best ride out of this truck. Now, how is the truck able to ride better? It's a good question too. From the factory, you have to check out Nick Vasquez's channel because he's gonna post it. He did all the measurements for me. They increased my droop travel from the factory. And so if you were to go look at a regular AT4 Denali truck without this suspension from the factory on the AT4X and ZR2 trucks, they have more droop travel than these AT4Xs do. And that's the main reason why they ride so much stiffer. And keep in mind, those Goodyear Wrangler Territory MT tires that come from the factory, they ride a little stiffer too. Even at the lower tire pressure, they're just a little bit stiffer. So having all of these extra goodies, like I said, the diff drop, having this knuckle here is allowing me to have better suspension geometry and better droop travel. So when you go over a train track, your suspension has to have extra room to perform over those harsh roads, right? I have more of that because of this suspension. And I know some people might say, well, you lifted your truck, so it's going to sit a lot taller in the back. Well, one thing to consider is this. You probably can tell my truck looks like it's a little bit lower in the back. And that's really because of the rake of this truck. So the back of this bed does sit slightly higher because of the rake, right? However, I do have a new block out back. That's going to be 1 3/4 inches. And if you don't remember, the factory one here was 1.5 inches, okay? So even with that, because of my more level truck, the back end does kind of level out in the rear, which does actually give you better clearance in the grand scheme of things. This is kind of funny because some people will say, oh, you're lifting your truck, you can't tow anymore, you can't get a fifth wheel or gooseneck truck back there. Well, actually you can, because now this sits a little bit lower and now I have better clearance. Now granted, it is going to be a little bit taller here, but we're not talking 6 inches. We're talking probably what, 1/4 inch maybe. So regardless of how you look at it, with my taller tires, with my 4-inch kit, which is actually a 2-inch kit on this AT4X, the trucks do sit very, very, very similar out back. But like I said, because of the rake of this one, the back end does sit higher for sure. But I hope this video was helpful. I didn't want to go too long in this one. I really wanted to show you guys the truck side by side because you can really see the difference in the height. And don't get me wrong, I mean, listen, the McGaughys lift kit is not cheap, right? It's going to be $3,800. That upper A-arm is about $900 and some dollars. I'll show it to you guys here online. But if you're someone who really wants the best of the best ride quality, you drive your truck unloaded quite often, I highly recommend you go with the McGaughys kit, just for the fact that they don't increase the track width up front. I hate when I see a difference on the front tires from the rear tires. Like, and I've noticed that on some people's trucks. I never say anything to them, but when you see that track width difference, it doesn't make a big difference probably in some people's head, but it does look noticeably different if you are running at what, 3/8 of an inch more out. And it could potentially it could have issues with your CV axle, because if they're not giving you a spacer to run, you know, to offset that, you could have issues with that in the future. So again, McGaughys has done their homework. I highly recommend their suspension. And as I said, they're all about the details. When I got my truck done, they wanted to paint the CV axles. That wasn't something that they get paid for. They just did it because they like that perfection. They want to make sure that not only does your truck ride good, you have the reliability built back into your CV axle, your tie rod ends, and all your ball joints, but they want it to look good, you know, long term. So they protected that metal, because like you guys see here, look at all that rust, right? It's a lot of rust, and this truck is not even, it's only what, a couple months old? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to your channel. Got some more videos coming for you guys. And last thing I want to mention too, it does not change the location of your track bars. Nothing is different with the suspension. And in fact, this truck rides not better, but the steering feel is also improved too. Like, I felt like I was always fighting the steering wheel when I was driving, and I had to mention that because I completely forgot about it. And that's something I noticed on the way home. I drove this truck 1,000 miles with this kit right after I got everything done, and that was the biggest benefit for me. My steering wheel is a lot straighter, and I'm not fighting it as much too. And that's with bigger, wider tires, guys. Insane. So yes, again, I'm done. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure notifications are on. See you guys soon.